Today's guest on my show is Dr. Elisa Medhus. I found her on YouTube one day, and that was a phase of my life which was quite rough. I was going through the saddest phases of my life, and I needed healing. And I was just browsing through YouTube, trying to find something that would bring any kind of healing or peace to me. And I just find this video in which I see a woman talking to her son from the afterlife, the son who is in spirit, who is no more, through another spiritual medium. And I was just hooked to this whole thing, and it was pure joy to see them talk. And I was mesmerized, and it was inspiring, empowering, and what not. So that's how it all began from my side. That's how I found her. Apart from being a mother of 5 wonderful children, she's also a physician by profession, and she's also an author of many bestsellers. And my favorite amongst the bestsellers are this one, My Son and the Afterlife. This is my favorite, and there's another book, My Life After Death. These two books are based on her own spiritual journey from an atheist to a believer. This whole thing began in the year 2009 when she lost her son Erik to suicide. So this tragic event and an overwhelming sense of loss propelled her into, finding her answers. And that's how she started this whole blog named Channeling Erik, and she has a YouTube channel as well. This blog has become really famous, and now thousands of people around the world are a part of it. And it's bringing immense healing to so many people around the world, including me. So let's hear more about this fascinating story from the great woman herself. Welcome, Elisa. Warm welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Now my head is this big, and you've just stoked my ego. Not really. Raising five kids will strip that ego right down to the raw finish, right?
Yeah, you are so humble. You're so sweet. And at the starting of this, when you're talking about mother and raising 5 kids, the first thing I want to know is about Erik being a child. How was he when he was a child, when he was here as a teenage boy? Please tell us.
Sure. Oh gosh, he was such an easy baby. He was just so sweet and affectionate. He really reminds me of my little grandson Easton, who's 2 years old. And I asked Erik, why does Easton and Easton and I have such this huge connection? He just loves me so much, me, and just runs to me. And ends up that Erik said he put little pieces of his soul in him. So he reminds me a lot of Erik. For example, I remember taking him to the pediatrician for his immunizations. He must have been 18 months old, maybe younger, maybe 12 months old. And, I was bringing him back, his tears, stains on his cheeks, and my husband was there. Okay, so anyway, my husband saw him, and, he said, he grabbed him. And he said, Erik, how are you? And he didn't want to make Papa feel bad. So he said, have a good day. And started patting Papa on the back, comforting him.
Oh,
and he was like that. He really cared about people. And as he grew older, even though he was bullied and his peers were just terrible to him, his friends sometimes would invite him over, and then he would get to their house or apartment and they would have left. Or he would call them and they would pick up and then hang up. Things like that. It's really rude. And but he would still be there for them. I remember looking through, and this is so hard, looking through his Facebook messages and finding so many messages that he sent to other people that were having a hard time. Like, I hear you're having a rough time. Would you like me to come over and sit with you for a while?
Wow.
That's so, and he would also go to the local Starbucks within walking distance of my house, sit down, at one of the outside tables because he was lonely and wanted to meet friends, but also he
Yeah.
wanted to bum smokes because I would not let him smoke. Now I wish I did. But anyway, almost every time somebody would be drawn to him and he would motion them to sit down. So they would start sharing their story. And most of the time it was just a real sad story, really a story of struggle and strife. And it would end up that the person would break down into tears. So Erik would wrap his little skinny arms around the person and say, "Don't worry, dude. It's going to be okay. I'm going to take you home and my mom's going to cook you a homemade meal." It's like, oh. So that's when I had to quickly shove the frozen lasagna back in the freezer and go to the market and cook something edible.
But no, it also means that you were a supporting mom because, like, and secondly, that also shows that, I mean, like, people don't talk to strangers like that, right? He would have had some kind of, why people were drawn to him, right? You
Yeah,
just don't go.
No.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But he was like that. He was like that. And he gets that, I guess, from me too, because I always reach out and talk to people. I remember when I first met my husband, we were walking on the seawall in Galveston because that's where I did my residency in internal medicine. And we'd be walking and I go, "Hi," to people. "Oh, hi. Hey, good afternoon." To people who would pass by. And he says, he's from Norway. "Do you know all these people?" I said, "No, I don't know any of them." So, I tend to start conversations with complete strangers, tell them everything. And my husband's like, "Why don't you give them your social security number while you're at it?" So that's how Erik and I are very, very similar. In one of the ways we're similar.
Yeah, now I know where you got it from. And it actually makes sense. That's why you are doing what you're doing now, right? It was somewhere meant to be. Yeah.
Well, when Erik died, I was really not an atheist. I was agnostic. I didn't have any kind of belief. Busy practice, 5 kids. I didn't even spend time to think about it. When I was like 5 years old, I remember laying in bed saying to God, "God, if you're real, you better prove it to me because this is your last chance." Because my sisters and I were struggling with horrible physical and emotional child abuse. I mean, we were like 10 months apart and we all had to hide behind furniture every time we heard the garage door opening. I mean, we're talking bad abuse, broken skull abuse, running away to become homeless abuse, picking food off of the plates in restaurants to survive, or the people who had left, of course. We wouldn't pick them all. They're like, "Hey, can I have some of that?"
So was it like you were with your parents, right? You were with your parents.
Yeah, my parents were horrible. And so that was when I gave up on even looking for God. Now, early on, my father's from Spain, or was from Spain. And we went to, when we were really little, went to Catholic church, to mass and so on and so forth. Because, my great uncle was Cardinal of Spain, so I guess we had to. But one day my father and mother took us all aside after church, and they asked each of us separately, and if we want to go to church. And my father had me, and he said, "Elisa, do you want to go to church anymore?" And he says, "Well, I don't." I said, "I don't want to go to hell." And he said, "Oh, there's no such thing. Jackie, she don't want to go." And so that was the end of my going to church. Plus, it seemed like my mother and father were doctors. It seemed like every time we went to church, they would run by the clinic to catch us up on, injections and stuff. So I didn't like church. It was all in Latin. Anyway, so that was boring. But then Erik died. And I was faced with that question for the first time ever. Is Erik gone forever? And if he's not, where the heck is he? And being raised by militant atheists, I mean, we're talking about really hardcore atheists, made it very difficult. My father's first words to me after I called him crying on the phone to tell him that Erik was dead was, "Sorry, Elisa, Erik's going to turn to dust." That was it. It was horrible.
And
so
it was how early? I mean, like after his death?
Right away. Yeah. I was in the car on the way to screaming down the Echo Lane to try to find his. That's why I ultimately found his body up in his room. So, that propelled me on my journey. But what really propelled me on my journey was my father. Actually, it's so ironic because he called me 3 days after Erik's death, panicking. And my dad's a trauma surgeon. The dude does not panic. I mean, he really is calm, cool, and collected, as most sociopaths are. And he said, Elisa, I don't know what to think. I'm sitting in my chair reading the Wall Street Journal, and I look up from my paper, and there's Erik standing right there in the flesh. And then he came up and sat in my lap, and it turned into his little boy self and said in Spanish, things come in threes. I don't know what to believe. I'm so startled. So anyway, that got me going because my dad was not a nice man. He would never make that story up to make me feel better at all. So I knew, God, there must be something. So that's when I started reading all sorts of books on NDEs, quantum physics, consciousness survival, you name it. I mean, I've been through, so I wish I could show you my bookshelf because the shelves are sagging. I've read so many books. And then my eldest daughter, Christina, was going through her first year in medical school. Horrible time to lose her brother. She did not have time to really grieve. But she wanted some beauty in both of our lives, so she started an amazing blog, Pretty Shiny Sparkly, a beauty and fashion blog, to light up her life a bit. And now it's called Christina Brawley, BRALY.com. People are coming to my door all the time. Sorry, it's a busy household. It's life. I can't help it. So, and then she made Channeling Erik. She was very good at web design. She made that for me as well. And
so did she, I mean, like
she made it.
Okay, sorry, I'm just interrupting. I just want to know this Channeling Erik name. I mean, like that was the original idea, or like was it something different earlier?
Yes, because at the same time, we had a friend who was a medium that we saw. Well, she was a psychic, I will say, but I guess she's a medium too. Who we would ask questions just for fun, just like a party joke, you know. Most of the time when I thought of mediums, I would, think of a gypsy hunched over a crystal ball, to tell you the truth. That's how skeptical I was. But we had fun with her, and she was really sweet. And she channeled some stuff from Erik. And so at the same time, as I was, the reason I created this was because I guess that's the doctor in me. I've always healed best when I help others. That's the way I heal. So I thought that maybe creating some sort of platform where people could feel safe and loved and encouraged to vent their pain and feel supported, then that would help them and would help me too. But at the same time, I started sharing some of the channeled sessions plus some of the crazy stuff, the paranormal things that were going on in our house, courtesy of, who? Mr. Prankster.
Yes. Erik, right?
Yeah.
And he's famous for his pranks. And I was about to ask that, like, now there are like numerous stories. There are so many members sharing their stories. I'm sure you'll be getting emails, messages about all his pranks. And I often see all those. I mean, like, that's a regular thing now. But what are your favorite ones that he has played on you and your family? The pranks that you always remember.
So many. Well, early on, he would conjure up or manifest like an airsoft BB at the ceiling, and it would drop to the floor. Or I would go to pick up, I remember going to pick up a dime that was in the cup holder in my daughter's Honda. And as I was trying to, because I'm a clean freak, except for the drawers and closets, no, that's, there's fuzzy gummy bears and old pennies and stuff in all the drawers. But I would go to pick up the dime and it would just boop, disappear. Or he would make unplugged appliances work. For example, he would make this Viking downdraft vent that sucks up all the smoke from cooking, Every time my husband came in to the kitchen from the garage, it would go up and down, once, and just like, hi, Papa. And it kept doing it. And I thought it was really weird because we were remodeling at the time. And so there was the whole kitchen was gutted except for a couple of appliances. That's it. No power, no electricity. So come on. And that Viking, appliance repairman, he did not know what to think. Oh, he'll never be the same. And to make blenders go off that are unplugged. He'll turn on faucets. I remember my daughter and I were in my bathroom. All of a sudden, my faucet turns all the way on. I'm not talking about a dribble. Or one time we were going out to the garage to get in the car, and boom, the deadbolt goes. Like, you're not leaving.
Oh, okay.
Or I remember waiting in the car, and Annika, my littlest, was getting ready to go to the passenger side, and she looks in and looks, horrified because she saw Erik riding shotgun.
Oh.
And I remember one time I went to bed, and I was just about to lay my head on the pillow, and there I saw Erik jumping from the left foot of the bed to the right, jumping like a bunny rabbit. And my deceased sister Denise was sitting on the left-hand corner, looking at him, just grinning like, "Oh, you're such a fool."
Oh, so she could see him so clearly.
Yeah, she's dead too. So she was seeing Erik.
Okay.
So
okay.
she was in spirit.
You saw both of them? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And I watched Erik, and I looked. I know I'm awake. This is crazy. And it went back and forth. And all of a sudden, he looks at me and looks startled, like, "Mom, you can see me." So he runs to my arms, and we hug. And it just felt so solid, but it was only just for a few minutes. But and there are so many of those, but it really, even though, and there's other paranormal evidence I'll share with you, even though the evidence was so compelling, I just, time would take, basically doubt would creep in after some time.
Yeah.
And I think, well, maybe I was imagining it or whatever. And it took me 4.5 years to completely believe. I mean, even after the blenders going on, for God's sake. Plus, before I go into what really turned me from 99% hovering to 100%, I'll tell you some of the other paranormal evidence. Really shortly after Erik died, just a number of days, I remember going to his bedroom, and I do not know why I would ever want to go into that bedroom again. And my second eldest daughter, my second eldest also, was following me, and she and Erik were very connected. It was a love-hate relationship, though. I could go into that for another hour. But she got this strong sense of Erik's presence. And on the table in the room next to the hallway, there was a little digital camera, it so happens. And so she picked it up and started taking pictures. And we looked at the pictures afterwards, and in one of them, you see this bright orb with a long comet's tail, like definitely it was moving. So, orb, speck of dust, some on the lens, whatever. So the skeptic in me said, I'm going to take it to a photo expert. Actually, I took it to 2 photo experts. And they analyze it, by doing all sorts of things like taking the gamma down. I have no idea what that is. And they concluded, both of them separately, that it was its own light source. And you could even see it emitting light and shining, lighting up the banisters on the side, for example. And also during this time, I started getting a lot of pranks that blog members were, and there's so many of them. I have an Erik Encounters page, you can read them. But I remember the first one is so funny. This Irish dude, Damien, calls me or emails me, I can't remember, and said, your son was just here. And I recognize him from the blog, the pictures on the blog. And he recounted the story. He said Erik came to him and said, dude, I bet you I could tell you how far away your girlfriend is right now from you.
Okay.
And Damien had never seen a spirit, so he kind of freaked out. It's like, okay, because Erik was kind of see-through, so I was like, it just appeared, So he, rattled off a number of like 1,000 and something kilometers because the girlfriend was in Canada, quite far away, and so Damien calculated it, and yeah, it was just boom, right on. So
Wow.
apparently Erik got into trouble for that from the other guys up there. It's like, you don't mess around with
Oh,
people's senses.
really?
You know, he's a prankster, he can't help it. But he'll give them noxious smells and just do all sorts. Turn on
Yeah.
radio.
But now I guess he's not the fart smell guy anymore, I guess, right?
He's
He
not
doesn't
what?
do that. He's not the fart smell guy, right?
The what guy?
The fart smell?
Oh yeah, no, he does that.
He
And
still does
pot.
that?
Oh yeah, he does it all. People tell
No,
me.
the fart.
Yeah, the
FART.
farts. Yeah. He does it. Yeah.
Okay. So he's been like, no,
So
I'm not doing
if you
it.
don't have a dog, you're in trouble, man. If he does that, because you can always blame it on the dog otherwise. But
Yes.
he does that, and but then a lady told me that she heard voices on one of the videos, because I started doing, of course. I'll tell you about my first session with Jamie too. But first, she told me that she heard voices on a video session, a YouTube session like this one, that I did. 2.5 years ago. Okay. We were interviewing Jesus. It was such an awesome interview.
Yeah, I've seen
that. So I went to the timestamp she told me, and I heard 3 voices. One of them was definitely Erik's. I mean, I know my kid's voice, man. I'm his mom. I know it. He said, can we get him to come to breakfast? Meaning Jesus. I didn't know they had breakfast over there, but they can. And the way he cleared his throat, the way he paced all the time. I mean, before we remodeled, there was a groove in the tile from him pacing around the kitchen island all the time. Practically a groove anyway. It was worn off. Just definitely him. So anyway, of course, I had to have that analyzed by 2 sound experts, and they said these voices are definitely not human for many reasons. Some of them are too technical for me to understand, but the main reason is they didn't leave a voice print or a voice signature, whatever you want to call it. So that was it. And and also at the same time, I was getting interviewed a lot on radio shows, and the host would call me afterwards saying, wow, did you hear this, girl? We didn't hear it live, these voices, And so, for example, one of them was, you hear this Erik saying, minions! I mean, that loud, okay? You would hear that live if it was live, if it was anybody in the room. And then, then right after that, the medium says, he's calling the minions. Or another one, he said, pushing her. And then Jamie said, he says he's pushing you. And the host actually feels herself being pushed. Or he'd also do things like when we're in a segment break in a radio show, he has locked producers out of the studio thing. Yeah, I've done really awful things like that.
So they are having a good time then.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of EVPs that have been analyzed and verified. The other 2 voices, one was Jesus. So if you want to actually be one of the few people who have heard Jesus' voice, I asked him, are you on the earthly plane in some form? And you can hear him so clearly saying yes. And that too.
You got cut.
No voice print. And then the other one was Quentin Crisp. He was the author of A Civil Servant, very gay dude. Can you be very gay? He's just gay, okay. Very effeminate, though. And when Erik said, can we ask Jesus to come to breakfast, he says, I'm down with sausages. Ha, ha, ha. That is so Quentin Crisp. So he's kind of a little lewd.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing about you, what makes a lot of people relate to you is your curious way. You try to prove things, not to others, to your own belief. You have that scientific mind of yours, and that helps. And
that also hindered when Erik first died, because I was all into materialistic science. So to me, if something was to exist, it had to be perceived by one of the senses or measured by an instrument. That's it. So it really made it hard. But I do try to prove things to myself. I don't try to prove things to other people. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has their own journey. I am not here to proselytize. I'm not here to convince them. There will always be people, and some of them so hateful, who will not believe. And I liken it to the way long ago when almost everybody thought the world was flat. And then somebody comes up and says, hey, the world's round, people. And he got in all sorts of trouble. I think they put him in, who was it, Galileo, Copernicus? I can't remember. But I think we're in that phase where people are trying to transition from believing the world is flat to believing it's round. And this great guy called Arthur Schopenhauer said that truth goes through three phases. First, it's ridiculed. Oh my God, I get a lot of that. Then it's scorned. Get a lot of that, but eventually it is accepted as self-evident. And I've had a number of people who are abject, closed-minded skeptics who now are believers. So, and the great Thomas Campbell, this theoretical physicist who wrote My Big Toe, I think it is, My Big TOE, Theory of Everything, is a trilogy. It's very difficult reading, but it's very good. Anyway, he said that we're kind of like our intestinal bacteria in that whatever comes down to them, like bread that comes down to them is like manna from heaven. They have no idea, these bacteria, that seeds need to be planted, crops rotated, fertilized, irrigated. They don't know anything about the global economics of wheat, how it's transported. They don't know. But it does exist. Just because we don't see it and are conscious of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, people.
And I also I used to think that it's so difficult how to deal with atheists. But now I've realized, all these years from Erik as well, I've learned that, and I've noticed that people just don't want to believe things because it somewhere puts a pressure on them to, they might get convinced, and somewhere their whole bringing up or their whole belief system is questioned, which is not always comfortable.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I went to my youngest granddaughter, Harper Lee's, Christina's little girl, to her christening yesterday. And I have not been to church for a long time, but I do get a lot of horrible stuff from the Christian right.
Oh, is it? Okay.
A lot of trolling, you're talking to the devil, blah, 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 blah. And all I could think was, wow, this is such a shame, really, because Jesus in this interview said that 80% of the Bible is false because it was constructed by man to oppress the masses and control them. Hey, you're not going to go to heaven unless you tithe, give us money. It's all about power and greed. And a lot of stuff, like the stuff about mediums and reincarnation, they were taken out of the original Bible during the Council of Trent because they wanted the Bible to be able to control the masses, but also to civilize the barbarians. I mean, the Bible has some wonderful things in it, obviously.
Yes.
And also, Jesus did not die on the cross. And that's the whole thing about Christianity, that Jesus died on the cross to wipe away our sins. But that, in fact, according to Jesus, wasn't true. He was not dead. He was able to, in his journeys, learn from the yogic something or others, I can't remember, how to lower his pulse or respiration so low that he appeared dead. So when everybody's gone, people helped him escape to France. And
so maybe the whole resurrection, that might be coming back, maybe from somewhere.
No, it's not true. He did not die then. Therefore, he did not resurrect from a death from the cross. So according to Jesus, okay, I'm going by Jesus' word, you guys. Come on, you got to believe in Jesus' word. He knows what's going on. And so now historians are uncovering this, I read later, after this interview, that there's evidence that he truly did live in France, marry Mary, have a number of kids, I think 2 of which died, he said. And so, wow. I mean, so I'm sitting here listening to the preacher talking about, and seeing the crosses and talking about how he died for our sins. And I think, God.
Yeah. You're so not liking it.
No, I didn't care. I got a lot out of the sermon because there's always good messages, how to live your life in a
And
good way.
that's what, the weirdest thing is any religion, India or Christianity, or like we have so many religions in our country. There's one common thing called compassion, which is so rare. People just don't have compassion to humans, or leave alone animals or plants. They don't have compassion for the fellow being or the respect that it doesn't matter where it is coming from, right? What you are doing, what a medium is doing, it doesn't matter if it works. But
That's right.
people, yeah, and in fact, even Jesus was, if I'm not wrong, like whatever I've heard and read, he was all about telling you that if these things I can do, you can do, right? Anybody can do.
Right.
But people don't want that. People want something to be big, and even there are so many spiritual gurus and so many motivational speakers who will tell you that you don't have it in you. You have to come to me, follow me, and that's something that I hate.
Yeah.
I just don't
Yeah,
get
it's
it.
in you. It's in you. And, I got some of the hate comments that I got from that Jesus interview. That sounds weird, Jesus interview. Gosh, so epic. But anyway, was that, why would Jesus talk to you? He only talks to the Pope and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, they don't know Jesus. Come on. Excuse me, little girl. I'm not going to talk to you. I only give an invitation to the Pope. Come on. Really? Really? That is not Jesus. And Kim, one of my mediums, Kim, was a Catholic. I guess she still is. She had been going to this church for, oh God, all her life, really. And when they found out she was a medium, they kicked her out of the church. Now, do you think that's what Jesus would really want?
Yeah.
Seriously? Ew.
That's a shame. Yeah.
The priest? Close. That's terrible. Anyway.
Yeah,
Anyway, you want to hear about my first session after the one with just our friend,
Yes, yes. And I also want you to tell me, like, how was the whole quest of finding the perfect, spirit translator that you just thought that she or he fits in the Erik voice. Yeah.
Okay. That was not easy. But a blog member tipped me off to Jamie. So, Jamie Butler. And so I made an appointment. I was able to, it was not booked at all. I was able to get it just in a couple of days. And, she didn't know anything about me except my credit card number and my name. And she said that there's a young man here, says he's your son, says he killed himself. And then she went on to say how he used a gun, what kind of gun it was, that he was sitting at his desk, the kind of shirt he was wearing, like those baseball shirts with blue, like a blue sleeve, 3/4 length, and white rest of the shirt. And also she was able to convey his personality, which is irreverent, and his cursing. I mean, he had a sailor mouth.
Yes.
And which kind of was hard for her. She had to wince. And I thought that was, what? So I kept making more sessions with her. And now she's really on the map, thanks to channeling Erik. I mean, now she's booked. Yeah. She charges like $600-800 an hour. But so anyway, then I've been through other mediums that were good. Some were terrible. It's really hard to find one that will that have the courage to convey his personality.
Yes. Yeah.
Word for word. I don't want, he's showing me a yellow rose. Does that have any significance? No, he says, Mom, how are you today? I want conversation. And not every medium can do that. It's hard because we're humans have filters. So,
yes.
So yeah, it's not easy.
Okay. So this whole thing, the YouTube channel, I guess it began with Jamie, right? That's how the video started. Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. And now Veronica is amazing too.
Oh yeah, she's great. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah. So
something recently happened on EVP to show you how good she is. Somebody told me, "Hey, Elisa, I hear Erik saying something," and I hear at the end. No, at the beginning. It was at the beginning. I said, "I love you, Erik," and you can hear him saying, "I love you too." And then Veronica immediately responds. He says, "I love you too." So know he's channeling.
Yeah.
So proof like that is really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great validation, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it's on recording, like you can hear it, right? So,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And there's a new term. Like, it's been how long? So you started this blog in the year? Did you start in 2009 or 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Late into, I think so. I think it was
Yeah.
maybe December. I don't know. See, after you've been through what I've been through, seeing your son in that kind of shape, you get PTSD really badly. It was a horrible
Yeah.
scene and horrible time. Lots of screaming. It's less a horror. And the cleanup crew, hearing them rip up carpet, it was awful. So that has done something to my brain such that I am not good with timelines. I can't remember I can remember like this is the before and this is the after, but
Oh,
specifics I
yeah.
really struggle with, and I hear that's not uncommon with PTSD. So
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, if we have to say
no,
what he says, time is just an illusion, right? According to Erik.
right, yeah, that's right. He says everything's happening
Yes.
right now, past, present, future. That's really hard to wrap people's minds
Yeah,
around.
even that's a big struggle. Like, he has this love for being in the now, and he teaches that, but that's something so difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
always.
it
Yeah,
is.
and being a mother and a mom too, so it's like always planning about the future, and I should have done that yesterday, last night. What you cook in the morning? So it's so damn difficult. Yeah.
That's right. But we need it for the human experience. We need
Yes.
to have a cause and effect. We need to have linear time, that
Yeah.
human construct. Okay, I eat dinner, I go to work, blah, blah, blah. The one thing I want to say about his cursing, a lot of people were, why does he curse? He is just not one of those gurus that starts out with, welcome, my dear one.
Yeah.
The reason he curses, and he cursed some in real life, but he wants to be approachable. He wants to have that
Yes.
human type quality. He doesn't curse as much as he does now because I think people understand him. But he says curse words, they're just a string of letters. They get their power from the intent
Yeah.
behind it. So
Yes.
if you say F you in a mean way, okay, that's different than saying, what the F? That's cool,
Yeah.
So
So
now,
recently, I was talking to a friend about a tattoo that was done on her feet, and it was an Om tattoo. So she was feeling bad because someone, I don't know, some Indian guy or someone, I don't know whether it was from India, someone told her that it's not good. It's disrespectful in the Indian culture to put it on the feet.
oh,
As
really?
if, yeah, so she was like feeling bad why she did do that, and she was thinking even about changing it into something else. But I was like, no, it's not. First thing, Om is just a tone. It's like a tone which has a vibration. Secondly, the
Yeah.
intent matters. And most importantly, feet. If you don't have your feet, can you survive? And it's so difficult. You should ask somebody who doesn't have a feet. So how does that become
Yes.
dirty or something bad?
Yeah.
So it's all about how people make it complex, and I don't know how
Right.
it
It's
works.
all about intent. She didn't have any
Yeah,
disrespect in her intent,
yeah.
you
And
know?
and the very thing that people get a tattoo is because of the sheer love of that symbol, right? Because they can
Right.
relate to it.
Absolutely. And whoever the guru of her religion, I don't know if she was Buddhist or whatever, um, I'm sure they don't care. Okay?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
a body. It was mankind who created this whole stigma about tattoos on the feet, probably. And, I don't know very much about religion overall, but I will say that I think organized religion does have its proper place. I think it has immense value for so many people who want to travel a well-worn, comfortable path. It has taught us, like you said, compassion,
Yeah,
morality, ethics, and all that. It's just you have to learn to feel what feels right to you. And
absolutely.
that's one of Erik's teachings that I like the best. Is we are emotional beings. We're made of emotions.
Yeah,
Everything is energy, including emotions and thoughts
yeah,
and matter. This phone, for example, that's matter. Einstein would have referred to it as frozen light. It's energy. And so, with every form of energy has its own vibrational frequency. And what was it talking about?
we were
See?
talking. That's okay. And I'm
Oh yeah,
worse
I'm
than
going.
that.
One of the teachings was we're emotional beings, and so we must learn to feel first and then think second. Because most of us don't do that, and me included. We have a thought, and that evokes some sort of emotion in us, and that emotion crafts some sort of choice or decision. We shouldn't do that. We should listen what feels right in our heart. Get in touch with our emotions. Let that produce a thought, and let that thought produce an action.
Yeah, and Anita Murjani, who's famous for her NDE, Anita Murjani.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So she says that she makes it very simple that when you have a decision to make, all that you need to think is what is light is right.
Yeah.
So that's so simple. Actually, it's not complex. And it is so empowering, right? You make all those calculations. If I do that, she might feel bad, or this might go wrong. Those are from the mind, right?
Right. It's along the same lines as what would be best for the greater good. One thing I tell my squabbling daughter and her husband, or whoever's in a fight, because when you have fights, there's always blame, blame, blame.
Yeah.
And the way to honor the light is to forget the blame. Focus on the solution. Another thing that Erik taught me, which really helped me a lot, given how much I've suffered as a child, is although I'd already processed most of that out, and it also helped the fact that my parents were so freaking crazy that they were over the top. So we knew that it wasn't us. So it was really easy for us to. He teaches us that there is no right or wrong, that everything is just an experience. So a lot of people have a hard time with that. So what you have to look in each experience, like my one with child abuse, is try to find the value in it. Every experience, good or bad, has value. I promise you it's there. It might be hard to find, but it's there. For me, I am so glad I endured that abuse. I am so grateful for it because it taught me how to assert myself. It taught me how to feel compassion for others. It taught me how to be a really deep nurturer, much to the dismay of my kids who, when they were teenagers, I had them sit on my lap. They didn't like that at all. And to be a better parent. And
to be more expressive.
Right. So when you're able to see the value, then you can be grateful for it. You can embrace it and then let it go, surrender it.
Yeah, you have to experience the opposite to understand the meaning of something, right?
That's so true. Yeah. That's so true. Another lesson that I like of his is vulnerability. Everybody thinks, to be vulnerable, that's a sign of weakness, but it's not. Having an open heart and being vulnerable will let the love in and will let the love out. And that entails emotional honesty. And emotional honesty is really hard, but it's actually really refreshing to be emotionally honest, not only with others, but with yourself too. And it's hard to look inside, at least it was for me, and see, what I need to make better in myself, what things that I wanted to cover up because that's not a good quality. So those are some of the teachings I like the best. He also says that we are here to remember that we are love, because all this energy I was talking about, it's all love. Everything is love. It's love and light is a spectrum.
You're getting
it's darker on the side. It gets darker on one side. Okay, I'm back. It gets darker at the bottom, but there's still light. So even with some of the evil, there's still light there, and it's still love. Everything is love. That means there cannot be any hell, because hell implies that there's a separation from light, but it can't be because there's only light.
Yeah, so, and he always says all that people need is a little love, and that's so true. Even the evil ones, maybe they've never experienced it, and they don't have that they cannot receive it. So it's sad, but and it's so wonderful, Elisa. It's like you're almost reading my mind, because that was my next question. I was actually, about to ask you, what Like as a mother, like I'm also a mother, so we have this responsibility of teaching our kids how to survive from the little things, how to be emotionally stable, giving them all the surviving skills. But at the same time, in this journey as a parent, we learn a lot from our children, right? And in
Yes.
Eric's case, that has been immense learning, right? I'm sure. So
Oh,
that was
yeah.
something that I was wanting to ask you, like, what have you learned? And you've mentioned so much already, but is there something else that you've learned from him that you would want to
Oh gosh,
share?
there's just so much. I've learned what the human experience is about,
Yeah.
why we're here,
Mm.
and that's kind of cool. He uses a brownie analogy. Oh God, I didn't eat breakfast, so now I'm going to get hungry. But we are here to learn that we are loved, also to learn how to love, but that's part of it. So, in order to do that, you have to have contrast. Like, you really can't get a good grasp of what hot is unless you experience
Yeah.
cold. You
Yeah.
can't just learn chemistry, organic chemistry, or whatever from a textbook. You have to have the lab too. Okay.
Absolutely.
So God, source of which we are part and whole,
Mm-hmm.
sends our little souls out to experience contrast, because the source has a conceptual vision of love, but it needs the experiential component too. So in other words, to understand uh, um, love completely, you have to learn. For example, if you want to learn the one facet of love, forgiveness, you might have
Yeah.
to go down it's not down, but go into a life where you're betrayed. So anyway,
Yes.
the brownie analogy, you can read a cookbook and you can see the recipe for a brownie. You can look at that picture of that ice brownie, yummy, but you're not really going to understand it until you get in the
Yes.
kitchen, mix up the ingredients, get batter all over your hair and clothes like I would. Put it in a pan, stick in the oven, burn your fingers perhaps, right? And then you take it out, let it cool, frost it, take a bite. That's when you really truly know what a
Ah,
brownie is like. So,
yeah.
you know,
That's what, yeah. And that's what living in the now tells you or gives you, right? When you grasp all little ADPD stuff from an experience, whether it's bad. I mean, yeah, it's painful when it's bad, but when it's good, sometimes you're so overwhelmed with that happiness that it feels like it goes away quickly, right? You can't
yes,
enjoy
that is
it.
so true.
Yeah,
That is so true. But
yeah,
yeah, he has the roles have switched. He is my teacher now, among others. But that's not to say that my kids, including him, didn't teach me a lot when he was alive, and my kids
yeah.
still teach me. They have a lot to teach us if we
Yes,
just allow ourselves to be emotionally honest and open-hearted and vulnerable, and not consider them, oh, they're just little kids, whatever. I mean, they
yeah,
really do. We can learn so much. That's what I say. My ego was stripped away just by virtue of raising 5 kids. They know all my flaws. I remember when Erik was little, he was like 2. I was about to get him ready or he was 3, preschool, and he dropped a big rock on his foot, and he was crying. And I said, "Oh, it's okay, baby. Let me check it." And I checked how a doctor would
yeah.
to see if a bone is broken. And usually, what you do is you just compress it longitudinally.
Okay.
And so anyway, I said, "Erik, it's fine. It's okay." And he said, "Mom, you take me to a real doctor. Thanks a lot." So,
That's funny.
they know all my flaws. They know how clumsy I am, things like that. They know I push doors instead of pull them when it's supposed to be the opposite. So,
Yeah.
another thing he taught me, and I'll be real quick because I know we're running out of time, to help me understand that
Mhm.
time is not linear,
Yeah.
that's just a human construct. He
Yes.
gave me, well, a couple of analogies actually. Pretend like every life you have is like a stack of books, all happening
Ah,
right now, and we're just picking out one book from that stack and reading it. That's the life we're focusing our consciousness on now. But all those books, lives, past, present, future, are all happening now. And he also used the wagon wheel analogy. I love this one. You have a wagon wheel.
mhm.
The hub is your higher self. the spokes are you sending little tendrils of your soul to different lives. They're all happening now, right? If you die in one life, it gets sucked back into the hub in another, but at the same time, that wagon wheel is turning and leaving a linear track in the mud. That's your linear timeline. So I think it's kind of cool. It helps a little bit, but it's still a little hard for this people old 63-year-old mind to get. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and we were talking about your family. How has this whole movement, the whole channeling Erik thing, I'm sure it has had an immense effect, and that has brought a lot of change in your family, your children, his sisters, and even his father. And
that's a really good question. Everybody's on board, even my Norwegian tough husband, whose nickname is I Have Spoken. That's his nickname. He's really very, very sweet, but he wants to protect everybody. But they're all on board. They're very proud. Nobody reads the blog, of course, because it's mom. If I recommend a song to them or a YouTube video, I can guarantee you that's one they will not watch because mom recommended it. So it's kind of funny.
Okay.
But we live in a kind of insulated way. I mean, here I am with my little laptop working on the blog, and we all don't really understand how big this has gotten, and we don't, except when there's a channeling Erik event, like we had one at our house. I don't involve myself with these events except to facilitate them because I don't want to make any money off of my dead son. So I will let mediums do that and such. But then all of a sudden, I hear people say, "Oh my God, look, that's the place where she does her YouTube. Can you believe it?" And all this stuff. And I had a note on the front door when people were coming in. It said, "Please enter, unless you're an axe murderer, then stay out." But no axe murderers came, so it kind of worked. But anyway, but so those glimpses, like, gosh, I'm just little old me. If they only knew how many flaws I have, they wouldn't. I mean, it's just like it's gotten almost like a little overwhelming in the attention. I don't. It's not something I really want. I just want to do my thing, and I don't want to be any kind of celebrity. I don't want to be way up there. I want people to just be, I'm in the trenches learning just like that they are, I'm just one of them. I don't want to be above them because I'm not,
Mm-hmm. And
so that makes it a little hard for my kids too, because oh my God, are we this famous? So.
Yeah. You don't feel like a celebrity, but you are. And I have to tell you, Elisa, I had to tell you this before. Maybe I've mailed this to you. You have no clue how much you mean to me. This is the first time we're ever talking. I mean, like one-to-one. We've chatted before, but the whole Erik thing, that was the start of a new me. It was something that I was looking for. I always knew deep inside there's more to my life. But Erik has been instrumental in my growth, in teaching every little thing that I do now. We've recently started trying learning trans-channeling, which I'm really excited about. But this was all possible only because you initiated it. And it means a lot, Lisa. And I'm so honored that
he's lucky to have a friend in you. And
I'm honored. It's really cool. And okay, so this brings us to the best part of our whole interview. I have a few questions from Erik, and I'll be frank. If you find if any of those questions, which I have no clue about, I'm just, when Erik speaks, I'm this kid who will go behind the candy. He'll tell me to do things. I'll just do without any doubt, and it has worked. So I've always had that belief. So these are questions from him. If any of those questions doesn't make sense to you, you can just say pass. I don't want to answer. That's okay. All right?
Okay.
All right, let's go then. And I hope he's listening. He's around. Yes, he is around.
Oh, good.
Okay. The first one is, where is the blue sweatshirt? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, he has a blue sweatshirt that had like not AC/DC, it had DC shoes on it, I think. Blue was his favorite color.
Okay.
And it's up in the attic. That's right. In a bag.
All right. So and he's smiling. The second one is, why didn't you punish me one day when I missed school?
I don't remember that. You know, a lot of times if they miss school, you know, once a year I would give my kids a mental health holiday and we would do stuff together, you know.
Very sweet mom.
So it must have been that he needed the emotional R&R. And maybe I wanted to be with him. I was the kind of mom that when summer rolls around, it starts to end, and you see school supply stuff at the grocery stores, I get so sad because I don't get to be with my kids 24/7.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of parents think the opposite, but I love being with my kids. I loved.
Yeah, and even in my community, they don't like the holidays because all day the kids are around, they're howling, and I'm like, they need a break and they can get up. They don't have to get up early in the morning, and it's so much fun.
Yes.
So I can totally relate to it. That leads us to the third question. Mom, what do you want from me as a birthday gift?
A visit. A real tangible visit. Just like when you were hopping around on my bed. I did get another one with him when we were in Norway. He appeared before me. It was freezing outside, as in Norway it often is, like 20 below. And he shows up with a Hawaiian short sleeve shirt on. So yeah, I want one of those, dude.
Yeah, he's thinking whether maybe, he can give you a visit. And the last one, which he probably knows, but maybe he wants you to tell to the viewers so that they can know. What's your biggest goal in your life? So, wants to know.
A life with no chaos or drama, because we're experiencing some of that right now. And to be able to continue what we're doing.
He's asking, sorry to interrupt you, he's asking, is it a real thing, Mom?
I don't know.
A life without drama?
I don't think it's possible, but how about less drama and some peace in my golden years, because throughout my life, when things got better, it's okay, now everything's good. Now these are my golden years, only to boom, some horrible thing happens, and and then okay, now. So I'm tired of the roller coaster, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's wonderful, and so that brings us to the end of our interview. And I have to tell, it was immense pleasure talking to you, Elisa, and I'm so honored.
Likewise.
I'm so thankful to you that you agreed to do this with me. And,
anytime, lovely. Anytime.
Yeah, I feel a special connection to you. I don't know, maybe it's Erik that he has actually brought so many people together. Veronica, you, me, met Linda, and maybe now I meet Shruti, that, as you said. So let's see how it goes. And I want you to tell to the viewers about your blog and how, if they want to read about the whole Erik story, how they can.
Oh yeah. It's www.channelingerik, but Erik spelled with a K.com. And if you just look up Erik, put Channeling Erik in the YouTube search bar, you'll find that. Also, we have a radio show, 6 p.m. Central Time on Thursdays, where Erik, or perhaps sometimes a guest, will talk for the first 20 minutes, and then Erik takes takes questions from the callers. And let's see, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the books. My Son in the Afterlife basically was my journey from skepticism to belief, but it's a lot of channeled stuff from Erik. The book I really like the best is Erik's book, My Life After Death. That is totally channeled, and I was just a typist, and he goes from moments before his death, details about everything of his death right afterwards, and boy, that was so hard. I cannot tell you. I learned some things about his death that I wish I did not. I wish I could erase from my memory. And then his goodbyes to us. Then there's the going to his funeral, the crossing over, the life review, the stuff that happened there, And then it goes into great detail about what his body, how his body changed, his emotions, how his senses changed, what his life, what the life of the spirit is like, and so much detail, what heaven looks like, what the sky looks like, what God looks like. It's so detailed. It is on. If you read the Amazon comments, people say it's not only the best book on the subject, it's the best book I have ever read. It is a real, and I'm not bragging because I had nothing to do with it except typing. And I have fingers that are like, when I type, they're like, feel like chicken drumsticks because I'm terrible at it. But
no, but it is amazing.
So it's a page turner, and you will laugh, you will cry, your jaw will drop. It's really good. Plus, you get the added benefit of, if you read it, you will probably be visited or pranked by Erik. He very often does that. And but he won't do anything creepy. Like, he won't wake up and there's Erik's face 2 inches from you saying, boom. Nothing creepy like that. It's always in love and in fun.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I didn't ask this before, but I have one very important question that I have to ask you. What is that one, satisfying aspect of being the spearhead of this whole channeling Erik movement? And also, I would like you to tell me the most daunting task.
The best thing is that I'm fulfilling my duty as a mother to help her child find happiness and feel productive and fulfilled. The most daunting task, I think, is it's answering emails and PMs and comments, because it takes me like 4 hours a day to get through them all. And I always answer them, though. I'm good about that, with rare exception. And sometimes it's very difficult because their stories are sometimes very sad, and I'm still a little bit broken. Of course, I always will be. So that could be really hard emotionally, because I care about these people, and it's hard to see them hurt, and it triggers the hurt in me too. So that's the most daunting.
Wonderful.
Transcribing is no picnic either. So
yes, it's a lot of work. Like all this, right? I totally understand.
Yeah.
So that's it, and it was amazing, Elisa. It's so good, and I can't tell how happy I am. I've been waiting for this since so many days, and Erik was somebody who gave me the courage to ask you. So I'm glad he did that.
Let's take it, ask.
Yeah, all right.
This was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Elisa. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Take care. That was fun.
It was.